I've now been crying for 27 years. Not every day, of course. But, like last week, Mary and I were really attacked by spirits when we first came to Brussels. I hadn't slept for nearly 8 days. It was pretty bad, the attack. Well, every time I tried to drop off sleep, they'd wake me back up again. And just sort of like a torture in a different way. And eventually, on Saturday night, just last Saturday night, I got to some feelings about it, and for about 4 hours I cried. Worked through some feelings. I said to Mary, I'll be right the next day.
I knew. I knew as soon as you got to where you needed to get to, it'd go. But it was pretty bad getting there.
Yep. So this time last week, we were looking at counselling this event because I was so bad. And when I say I was bad, I hadn't slept for 8 days and I was sick as a dog. Bad. I was getting attacked in my nervous system and my muscular system, and also I had a lot of grief to feel so I had sinus problems and
coughing
sinus, which I've still got a bit now, but it's slowly going. But I was coughing all the time and I was bad. I couldn't sleep at all. I was about as sick as I'd been for maybe 10 years. Maybe. I don't get sick very often, maybe once every 5 years or... Nowadays, when I was a child, I got sick every week, or every month at least. But now I don't. The more I progress, the less I get sick. But it was bad. It was a bad situation, but I eventually connected to the emotions, and I could feel when I did the same response I have every time I feel, the physiological responses. Went through the emotion. And like I said to Mary, I woke up the next morning. Well, I actually slept afterwards, and woke up the next morning, said I should be fine for next week. Yeah. Took me 2 more days to recover, but that's the power of doing it. It's and I've had that experience thousands of times, so I've got a lot of confidence in it. So I don't take any medication, I don't take any pills or drugs or headache tablets or anything. I drink water, I eat mostly fruit and vegetables and nuts, and for the most part I don't experience unhappy things. You follow? But I used to a lot. But every time something bad does happen, where I'm being attacked, when I talk about attack, most of the time when I'm attacked, there's millions of spirits involved in the attack. They're so used, many of the spirits who attack me are so used to killing people with 2 spirits attacking them, that they're totally confused and very angry about me not dying. And so they just heap it on and organise constant regime replacement, to continue the attack and so forth. And it can go on for days and days, until I patch something up. Once I patch it up, it's all gone. Yep. Now, I've got confidence in that because I've learned to have confidence in God's way. I've learned to trust God, that the way God wants me to deal with things is not to take it out on Mary or take it out on other people. He wants me to deal with it. He wants me to work through my issues in a loving manner. He expects that if I wish to continue a relationship with him, right, that he expects me to live by the love I've received. That's what his expectation is. And to be honest with you, that's what I want to do. Not because he expects it, because it's fantastic, right? It alleviates so many burdens. But I'm not saying to you that going from a place of stoicism to a place of feeling is not going to be difficult, because I found it quite difficult. It took me probably the first year and a half before I actually felt an emotion, right? So it's not going to be necessarily easy, because in this state of being mind dominant, which I was intensely in mind dominant, and in this state of just going by what your senses told you, in that state, I was shut down, stoic, resistive to all of my feelings, but at the same time trying to be kind. at the same time trying to be a loving person, and, didn't work very well. But once I realised that this dominance that I had in my mind was my main problem, and by the way, God taught me that it was. Like, God showed me that it was the main problem I had. And once that happened, then I started making progress. And sometimes the progress was so rapid that problems that I thought were insurmountable 1 month later had been solved. But it required trust in the grieving process, trust in my feelings, trust that I could bear it. Because there were a lot of bad feelings. At one point when I was in my early 30s, my entire family rejected me because I was in a religious faith that they, that I wanted to leave, and they wanted me to stay, and then they decided the way to punish me for that was to never speak to me again. And so my entire family, so I'm talking about my children, my ex-wife at the time, my parents, all of the other parents around, and all of my friends, and most of my work colleagues all rejected me, to the point where I walked down the street and they would not speak to me or look at me. Right? And that happened at the same time as I was going through grief of my own situation. So, and it was also happened at the same time that I lost my job. And it also happened at the same time that I had nowhere to live. So I had to find a place to live. So there was an intense amount of grief. I cried during that period. I reckon I cried probably 8 hours a day for 4 months. Yeah. Every single day. I used to get up with the purpose of crying. And then I would cry in the morning. Generally, I would cry as soon as I get up. I would cry until 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and then I would have some relief. And I used to try to have my children, at the time my children were in their early teens or just before, and I used to try to have my children 3 days a week, and I used to make sure that I could cry at least 6 hours a day before they arrived, so that I didn't have to visit my sadness on them. Right? It took years for me to do that. You can do it. You don't have to act unlovingly. You don't have to suicide. You don't have to, do anything damaging to yourself or others. You can actually go through your emotional experience. And the more I did, the closer to God I felt. And the closer to God I felt, the happier I become. The happier I become, the better my life became. Yeah. From that time, it took 12 years before I met Mary. 12 years. So I started when I was 33. When I was 45, I met Mary. Right? During those years, I also come to remember who I was. And then, of course, that introduced a whole new level of crying, a whole new level of grief. I started to remember my previous life experience in the 2,000 years of my life. And my loss of that is incredibly immense, like in terms of grief. My loss of that, the consciousness of the loss of it, and so I had all that to do as well, like solid. Before I met Mary, 5 years of that, before I could meet Mary. And then on top of that, I had to embrace my passions and desires, to teach people, to love them, to share truth with them and stuff like that. And I had to do all of that before I could even meet Mary. So that was a 12-year process to meet Mary. I wanted my soulmate when I was 33. Right? As soon as I saw her, there's my soulmate. Could see, there she was, there's my soulmate. I didn't say to Mary that she was, but as soon as I saw her, I knew, there she is. And the relief of that finally knowing was fantastic. But then I thought, well, I can't tell her. That wouldn't be very loving. So, yeah. But a lot of people around me felt, you seemed all of a sudden very relieved. What's going on? And I said, well, I just met my soulmate. And then some of them spent a bit of time with me, and so they thought, they went back in their heads working it out. It's Mary. And they went and told her, and told her family. Yeah. But, and that's how Mary found out that I thought she was my soulmate, not by me telling her. So what I'm saying is it took 12 years of emotional work, sincere emotional work, for me to get to the stage, and I was still having to work, still having to hold down a job for the majority of that time, still having to work, and I had properties to sell. I was a developer as well, and I had the properties to sell. I owned a computer company during this entire time where I had to, service clients and everything else. So sometimes I would get up in the morning, cry for 2 hours, go to work, have a break at lunchtime, go home, have a break, 2 hours, cry, go back to work. That's what it took. Right? And I'm not saying it's going to take that for you.
Yeah, I think everyone now is freaking out.
So now you're freaking out, right? I'm saying that because I'm trying to tell you that you can handle it.
If you can handle that, if Jesus can handle what he had to handle, you guys
can handle that.
You can handle
You can
what you
handle
need to
it.
handle.
Yeah. It's not. You got to, though, have some deep confidence and trust and faith in God's nature and goodness that he will bring you through it. Yeah? He will help you do it. And not only that happiness is the end result. Like, I'm happier now than I can ever remember being my entire of this life. Right? But I had to get rid of a lot of sadness to be happy. Yeah.
And a lot of you were parents and also have a feeling of concern for the world and where the world is going. And really, this is the quickest way to remove the damaging effects that each of us is having on our children, on the people around us, on our environment.
Yeah.
You can do it the natural love way, but it's going to take you a long, long time, and you're going to be in the spirit world before you get through it, and then there will be damage that you have done on earth. And
there'll be no good effect on earth either.
Yeah. We have the potential to make a really positive change
in your lifetime while you're here.
Yeah. To actually leave the world in a place that's better because of your input,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.